Today we're going live because of a few things that I would like to talk about. First being that we made it to Homesteaders of America over the weekend and did not have time to edit some of our stuff that we have been doing. The other part to that is I would like to go ahead and just jump right into some value of our live here for just a few moments. The things that I want to talk to you about today has a lot to do with, well, of course, saying so you want to be a flower farmer. And basically, I'm wondering if that's the case for some people, questioning themselves, because sometimes I get in that situation where I think that I want to be a flower farmer, and you just don't exactly know the situation or how it's going to pan out. One thing that I would tell you to do is to definitely plan. I'm a terrible planner. And so the value that I want to give you this morning is that, or this afternoon, is that consider these couple things. Flower farming is hard on your body. Sometimes when I come home, I'm like, oh man, I'm so tired. And you know what that brings to me when I know that it's hard on my body? It can also be stressful. And I'm telling you these things because we need to know the ins and the outs. It's not ever a perfect day every day at the flower farm. Some days it's completely terrible. I'll tell you what happened today. I was cutting flowers this morning. We've been gone for the weekend because we were at HOA. If you don't know what that is, it's Homesteaders of America. And we'll jump into that in a few more minutes. But, you know, like I was saying, I would like to give you a little bit of value here. Most of the flowers were gone. We had to deadhead most of them. You know, when you're getting $1 a stem for them and you have to cut them and you're just chopping them down left and right and walking through each individual row and just chopping hundreds of them. Hey Sarah, how's it going? And you know, that is a huge disadvantage, and that's not a fun day. And that leads into a stressful situation when you're having to chop hundreds and the wholesalers are calling you wondering where their flowers are at. At that point, is it even worth, you know, just take it back, set back a little bit and think about what's going on. So those are the two things right now. It's very hard on your body. For me, even being 25, and then the next thing for me is to, if you made it this week, that's great. You know, it is going crazy here too. The thing is that I think we're looking for our first hard frost by Friday night, and that's probably going to be the end of it here. And, you know, that becomes a hard day. So let me move on here a little bit so we can all be together. First, it's hard on your body. The second part that I want to tell you that it's stressful, like I just told you. But flower farming, if you're going to make it profitable, has a large overhead. A lot of people are buying like crazy, and they have all these tubers and bulbs and seeds and all this equipment and greenhouses and maybe a small tractor, or, you know, it's very, very hard. What I want to tell you to that is just plan accordingly. Don't get ahead of yourself. You know, you can watch your tubers or your bulbs rot within your very own eyes right in front of you. If you have too much moisture in the middle of winter and you're like, oh no, what am I doing? You can lose thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, wherever you're at in your situation. But that's what I just want to talk about. You know, as far as I brought my iPad with me today, if you see me looking down here. And the other thing is like I told you, I forgot it last week, but I got it this week. Coffee with the Flower Guy. And then you have a competitive market. When you're not a hobbyist anymore and you want to actually make some money at it, everybody can grow a flower in their backyard, but it's about growing the most beautiful, the most elegant. It's about putting your skills to the test. We all know that. And if you're going to go to one of your local areas and there are a few flower growers, then there is a hard market to try to beat, and it's very competitive because think about it. For just a second, you're ordering, I should say it this way. The wholesalers and the florists are ordering from somewhere completely different, and it's not going with the grain of things. They're ordering from out of the country, and it's a lot cheaper for them to get it. So you have to be creative with what you're doing. And what I mean by that is tell them about the freight. You know, that it's high freight this year, it's higher labor this year, but here's my flower, I have it right in front of you. And be at their beck and call almost a little bit when you're trying to get a new person, because you don't ever know. You might be able to land a $150 deal every week. And, it depends on how you want to structure things. Let me pull this up here. I'm much slower this week. I'm trying here. I'm pulling up my YouTube as well so I can see some of the chat. Oops, I made it go away. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. I wanted to do things a little bit different. I know people wanted to email their questions in, and I just wanted to talk about the daily routines and of what's going on here as far as what we have had go on. The facts are losing most of your flowers. So the next part that I want to talk about is, what am I going to do in winter? Even be a full-time farmer, you still have something that you're going to need to do in the wintertime. We're going to be moving into greenery in the next few weeks. Sorry, I'm reading. I'd like to get to everybody's questions here, and I'm going to try to pull them up. But we're moving into greenery in the next few weeks. Probably in even the next few days. And what I'm doing is I'm calling everybody and their brother while I'm cutting flowers with my little earpieces in. And I am going around everywhere just trying to make orders and try to fill orders. And we're going to be able to cut 75,000 foot of roping a day. And we're going to be able to provide 200 Christmas wreaths a day. And that's starting, in the next couple of days, but a lot of people aren't going to want that until November. If we can just make that mark and try to sell as many as we can, I'm not going to say I'm a professional at that at all, because I've sold them here and there, but I've never sold on this type of level. I'm just calling people everywhere left and right to see if they want Christmas wreaths and roping. Let's see. Next spring to plan to do some bouquets and get pottery. Yeah, I think that would be really cool. Like, you need to market yourself, because these little pottery mugs here, just figure out what your goal is, like Sarah is saying right now, the method of what you want to be doing. And I have also thought about considering over the winter to teach people and to plan and prep with them. If anybody is interested in that, I would be glad to work with you on the side note. If you are interested, I can help you plan your gardens. I can help you plan for year-round blooming. I can help you plan for your profitable cut garden in the first year. I should probably make that into a PDF file. Profitable cut flower garden in your first year. And the reason why I brought the mug over with it is because I actually purchased a mug that was a little bit taller that I bought for my wife, and it had little flowers on that. And what I'd done is I took it home to my wife, and I said, hey, here's you for your bouquet, your flowers for your bouquet to stick on the table. And she's like, no, I'm using that as a coffee mug. And I was like, okay, well, whatever you want to do and however you want to do it. But yeah, let's see. We can make a list of things. Like right now, we're just in Dahlias. Doesn't mean that I can't help you with other flowers, because we're looking for more things to be blooming constantly. And right now, here's another couple things. We're doing hydrangeas, like I had sitting here on the corner here last week. We had hydrangeas going on. We had bittersweet going on. We had a bunch of vines. Now think of this. When you're pulling a vine out of the tree and you're like pulling that thing out, that's $50, $100, sometimes even $300. And that's the main goal, is just to try to make a profit. It doesn't have to be a lot. You need to learn and build on your base, build on your base, build on your base. And it's just about keeping the record, calling people, just keeping it going. Anyways, I know I'm rambling about that, but those are some of the things that I wanted to talk about to give value in the beginning of our live. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is what we done with the HOA, being the Homesteaders of America, this past weekend. Well, we met our friend, the Celtics from, I think it's Maine. Is that right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember. You're going to have to correct me. And, we went up there and learned a lot of great things. If I need to be more focused and more practicing on live speaking, because I believe I may have landed a gig in the early summer to go speak about flowers and to teach people. as well as, this winter I want to be consistent. Like Sarah keeps saying, consistency and planning and everything. New Hampshire, thank you very much. All right. Yeah, we met our friends from New Hampshire up there, and I was very surprised and shocked that they were there. I was like, it took me a minute to realize that you were actually there. I was like, oh, okay, there he is. I only see you from pictures and videos, so it was hard for me to put that together. But we'll be writing a book, and I think the majority of it might be mostly on dahlias and like a field guide to it. So from the base life from a seed or a tuber all the way to the end of getting it into the store. The HOA is always there, and I have some valuable information I brought away from there too. And a couple of them is I've gotten sponsorships, and let's see. Rock out, blackout. Perfect question. Yeah, we put rosemary and basil in some of our bouquets in the past couple of weeks, and the rosemary had just stayed up like it was going to create some roots. So maybe next time I can put some growth hormone on those and clone those as we go along with that. And the holy basil was pretty awesome because it had different colors. And the darker pink or darker purple, and the green, they lasted for quite a while. So we have done that with the bouquets, and that was just for ourselves. We didn't really sell those, but the wholesalers, if anybody is interested, the wholesalers are asking about that. They're asking about all your mints, all your basils, all your oregano, all these things, the herbs. They're actually taking those in maybe like 18-inch sections. And the rosemary, oh man, the rosemary is like it's like a backbone. You want to throw that back there like a snapdragon or something. It's also like a backbone. And we can go over some of the farmers markets. I didn't have so much luck, but it doesn't matter. It's not my way is different from your way, and I'm not saying it's the right or wrong way. However you see it to be deemable to fit is perfect. It doesn't matter. And yes, the lavender is amazing and it smells amazing. But what the problem here is that it only grows probably 10 inches, and we're trying to get it longer, and we're trying to work the kinks out of it and things like that. But lavender is amazing. And what I try to say is think of many different flowers, and this goes for people at the farmers markets with produce. Think of many different flowers that can be beneficial more than just selling the flower. Think of it as if, can you eat the flower? Can you sell the flower? And can the flower reproduce to sell more flowers? Or like the individual plants, or your plug, or more seed. And I would like to actually get out with that. And I have some shirts. My chest is right here. It says the flower guy across it, and it has Windy Brook Ridge that goes across there. If people have seen it in my past videos, I want to be able to sell those. So I'm going to be working on that and working on our new website through the winter. And the dried arrangements too. Thank you very much for putting that in there. The dried arrangements work great. Right now we're drying Chinese bamboo, we're drying hydrangeas, we're drying sedum. All these things, they work great. Because farming is such a hard business to be in as a small business person, you have to be very versatile with how you structure everything. You don't really want to waste anything. If you got flowers to waste, I was very upset just chucking the flowers today, but that was completely wrong. I should have been like permaculture almost, and taking those and throwing them into a compost pile, because they're all organic. Everything that we do, to remind everybody that's new to the channel, is everything's organic. And be as versatile as possible so you can sell from all angles. And another thing that you could sell is like brochures or your knowledge on what you're doing, because that's what I think I'm getting into. I'm going to be able to sell myself to somebody as far as the knowledge as producing, or just to keep everything going. And I might give you a free couple minutes, but after that, you're getting a lot here as far as the value goes, because I'm just spilling the information, but directly to the person and having undivided attention for the next hour or something. You could. That is a good thing, Sarah, but sometimes I freak out, like if I have thrown something to the goat. Like one time, what did I throw to the goat? man, what was it? What was it? I don't even remember. I was azalea. That's what it was. I threw an azalea over to the goat. It was a flaming azalea, and they're beautiful. They're orange. Sorry, it took me a minute to remember. But I threw one over to the goat, and then I was reading about it. I'm like, that's poisonous, I believe. I was like, uh-oh. I thought I almost killed the goat. But luckily, we had pulled it away from the goat, and he only got a little bit. And the rhododendrons as well. You know, there's a couple things around here. There's probably more than a couple of things around here that could kill our goats. But back to the HOA. I'm off topic like crazy, so I just want to jump back to that. We had some potential sponsorships. So, and people had reached out to us wanting to, let's see, sorry. Okay, Farm Girl. I'm going to answer these and jump back and forth like we're just in a normal conversation. I'm sorry if it's hard to follow along. It just helps me to jump on it really quick before I forget. We had got a sponsorship this year, which is great. A sponsorship for bees, that is. And I had got a sponsorship for 4 hives. And I've actually split that up with a friend, and they're getting 2 hives, and we're getting 2 hives. So the idea is that we're going to be putting them to the flowers this year, this upcoming season. And if anybody knows about the flower, or not the flowers, the bees, please let me know. Because I would be more than gladly to take your assistance or even trade to get some bee information for the flower information, because they're coming up. They gave us $1,500. It was a grant out of Florida, I think, and I could get the name for everybody if you guys are interested, because I think it's still open. I don't know how much money they were giving away, but I mean, $1,500 for 4 hives, that's pretty great. If anybody's interested, you could email me at wendybrookridge@gmail.com, and we can just keep going with that. But yeah, Farm Girl, it was, the idea is to do that. So we're going to be able to do that. Different flavors do. Let's see. Did you make a profit? Anita, let's answer that question. I feel like I need to write a book or write a PDF file on how I profited on cut flowers in the first year. Yes, I did. My wife stays at home. For the people who don't know, I'm going to review that a little bit. My wife stays at home with our 2 kids, and it really put us at a place where you either have to do it or you're not going to do it. It's like a make it or break it kind of thing. And I'm not going to tell you that money is just lavishly out there, because it's not. It's sometimes it's a struggle to break even, but here's the thing: we have a goal in mind, and that's what we're going for. We have goals to hit. Yeah, it's a ride or die kind of deal. It's either they come up or they don't. Luckily, we had been saving for this situation. We also had sold a landscaping business that my buddy and I had together, and we had quite a few properties, and we were able to hire a few full-time people. We eventually sold that completely out, and we had some landscape knowledge, so that's where I bring that in. And this chair's squeaking. And we just done it. I mean, that's our complete, when you're watching my videos, so that you know, our complete situation is to be sustainable, as well as show people in a homestead general idea that you can do it. It's more, it's focused on hobbyists for flowers, but also for the homestead. Like, you can do it in the first year. It takes lots of calling. It takes lots of no's. And I know I'm rambling about it, but it's very important because a lot of people don't talk about it. And there is a large struggle. But you're going to have lots of wasted flowers and lots of downtime. It's crazy. So the thing is just go for it or don't do it. And like I said, I'd love to write a PDF file on it, or some sort of small book, to show people that it is profitable in your first year. It's just that you can't get overwhelmed buying. I see people get carried away and they post it. They're like, I just got carried away with buying $1,200 or $1,500. You need an intention for every flower that you're growing. Don't just grow it to grow it because it's beautiful. Now, that's for a hobby farm. You have to grow that specific flower to what people want. You just do. Like, okay, here's one. You're going to, okay, can't wait to do it. Just need land. Let's talk about that. That's important here. I don't own any land. So that's the first part I'm going to tell you. I'm going to be straightforward and tell you I don't own any land. I lease it all. And I think that's where a lot of small farmers can get away from the overhead expense, because you don't have to have that big purchase property. You just have to be searching and willing to be told no about 6,000 times. That's it. You just have to be able to find your leasing, and yeah, leasing the property. What you want to do is you're looking for at least 3 years. Like when you ask somebody, you want to lease for at least 3 years. That's right. You got this thinking outside of the box. Sarah, I think you should be the moderator here for me. If you see any questions that were not answered, please put them up here and let's answer them for people. Yeah, so that's the big thing, is just figuring out how you can trade somebody, or just, I mean, you're either going to make it or break it. We keep going over that. Make it or break it. It's either figure it out or get out, because it is a hard market. That's the biggest thing about this. We keep going over that. It's very competitive. What are things people want to know that was my biggest mistakes? I mean, is people interested in that? Because I can tell you where I've lost money and what was the biggest loss. As far as business goes, we can talk about that a little bit. And if you haven't yet, please put a thumbs up here, because every little bit counts. And also, if you haven't, please share everything that I have. Share my page, because it really does help. I'm almost there to be able to use YouTube as my secondary income for winter, and I would love to teach people and keep it going, just basically the YouTube stuff for free. But if you're interested, like I was saying, we can go more in depth on one-on-one kind of thing as the fall area comes to a slower point, if that makes any sense. And we will be transitioning our stuff into indoor growing areas if people are interested in learning about that. Okay, let's go over this. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Let's go over this. I have a couple videos that are going to be coming out on ranunculus, on the HOA, there was a couple other ones I don't know, but I have not had 1 ounce of time to like sit down and actually do it. The reason I'm taking this time right now is because I knew that I was dedicated to making it a Tuesday night to be able to do something. And right now the live fits the area. What do you sell most? Wholesale? Okay. Okay, I'm going to start with those two questions. What do you sell the most, and our greenhouse is profitable? Well, we sell the most of dahlias. Is that specific on colors that you're asking, or just the type of flower that we're selling most of? One thing that I could tell you is that you need to focus on focal flowers, because they pay more than, let's see. Focus more on focal flowers instead of filler flowers, because they pay more, okay? That's the first one answered. Our greenhouse is profitable. Oh, sorry, Anita. I'm all over the place. Wholesalers. Wholesalers is where it's at, because that's where you turn out your stuff. Thank you for answering that, Sarah. Yes, it's your zone. You really have to calculate, is it really worthwhile? How many more weeks are you getting? How much profit are you making? Okay, so that's the biggest thing to figure out. Are you making enough profit to be able to cover that greenhouse? And how many more weeks are you getting in advance? That's the biggest part. So figure out your zone. Figure out if you can. The thing is if you can get 3 weeks in the beginning and 3 weeks on the backside, then you're going to be better off. You're getting 6 weeks of extra growing time. And we are in zone 6B in Southwest Virginia. And we're right on the Blue Ridge Mountains, so it gives us a little bit of a microclimate. We have lots of creeks around here, which causes a lot of frost and a lot of frost warnings. So what we use is Agribon cover. And for the people who don't know, I'm in my first year and a half. I grew all indoors last winter. It worked. And now this season was my first season, but it was not the first time being in farming. So that, I think that really had a big play in it, because I was able to um, have a better margin, I guess you could say, because I knew what my family has had 1,800 acres. Sarah, was it Blackout? I think he was talking about the greenhouses. I don't know for other states, but if you'll check with your FSA office or your extension office, and you are growing and making a profit, I think there might be a grant, because there is for the state of Virginia, for the ones who don't know who live here, that there is a grant to get a greenhouse. Not a greenhouse, sorry, a hoop house. There is a grant for that. And I think they actually give you up to $12,500. Wow. That's 20,000, or not 20, that's 2,000 square foot. That's awesome to have something like that. But there are some grants out there. If you will check your FSA office, they will be able to help you. But one thing that I would tell you is that they're going to need a business license. Yeah. So for Virginia, it's you only have to be growing. There is no limitation about that. You just have to be growing, and there is a specific one for cut flowers or however you're doing it. And let's see, Celtic Roots. Oh, sorry, I thought he was asking me how I found it. There's my buddy just found a 9,000 square foot greenhouse for just a few $1,000s on Facebook Marketplace. So that might be a place to look. And he had to go all the way to Tennessee to get it and take it down. But I mean, that's what I would do for you. It really depends. Like, greenhouse growing is almost the same as indoor growing. So if you have a basement, that's another thing to look at, because you don't have as much upfront cost. You can purchase some lights to see if it's for you, and you can purchase a light for about $100 or something, depending on if you have your focal flowers or and here's another thing. Flowers in the wintertime go up. And for the people who weren't on last time, if you remember or write it down, Boston Ornamentals is going to be where you're going to get your price list from if you're going to be selling to wholesalers. Sorry, I'm just sitting here. All right, okay. Anita, I will be making other videos, but right now we are currently still out in the field. We're slam packed full. As soon as the first frost comes through, it'll be more of a dead zone, so we can be able to move and transition into the basement, and I can show a lot of that, what we're doing in and out. I can show you the lights that we're having. I can make links to that so everybody knows what we're using. And then also I can show you the substrate that we're using, what type of tubers we're using, and that sort of thing. And then Blackout, you had another question. I'm sorry. I seen it pop up and it went away pretty quickly. But yeah, I can show that sort of thing of the indoor to outdoor. And we'll be doing, I hope to be doing a lot of cloning in there. I'm not sure exactly yet. I told you I'm terrible at planning, but I can show you to have that. Douglas, let's see. Oh yeah, okay. Thank you, Sarah. We don't breed any dahlias. Basically, we get all of ours from tubers. So if there is a hybrid, we are getting it from the specific facility who's bringing it again to us. And then for us to, Douglas, to answer your question, we do dig them up, and this year will be 50% of them that we dig up, and it'll be like, what's your labor? What, if you're, what is your expenses compared to what you have purchased and put in the ground? We're making it like, what is the difference if we lost them compared to if we were to gain, like for our labor and stuff like that. So we're going to keep 50% of them in the ground to answer your question. We're going to dig them up. We're going to clean them up, dry them out, and then put them into a storage facility like in a basement or a crawl space or something like that. A lot of people get overwhelmed with the situation, but if you don't have lots of moisture, you'll be fine. If you can sprinkle some cinnamon on them, you'll be fine. There's a lot of things not to overthink. Just, thoroughly do the situation and go from there. Okay, let me see. Sarah, can you say that again? Sorry, it went away and came back. Let's see. I can give you the average of what a dahlia plant produces. And what you're going to want is like 2 stems per plant per week. Okay, so 2 stems per plant per week is what you want. Now you're going to have some profolic colors that are just, white was one of them for us this year. That white just bloomed out the craziness. And, oh, okay. Let's see. A couple of ways that you could do it is if, are you in a local group in your area, like a yard sale page or anything like that? You could throw it out there and say, hey, I'm looking for 1 acre, a half an acre to lease. Because I'll tell you this, here's the special trick to all of this. When they're using it for hay, they're not making that much money. I believe it's only like $40 or $100 an acre in the state of Virginia. I'm thinking here. Yeah, and I'm trying to just think about it. So then you could offer them $250 for an acre for the year, or $750, or whatever you work out for 3 years and make a lease on it. You could just ask. Let's see. Specific zones and replanting. I would thin your dahlias out every 3 years. You're going to want to separate them because eventually they'll come up and they'll kill each other out because they're shaded and they're trying to reach for light and they have starvation of nutrients. That's the first part of that. You don't need to dig them up. It's about taking risk. The one thing that I said in our last live is learn to break the rules of growing. And, you're all in microclimates. So I know people up in Seattle that don't even dig up their tubers. I know people in New York that don't dig up their tubers. It all really depends in variations of how you are prepping the substrate, or how much risk do you want to take. So one thing I can tell is, you want 4 to 6 inches of mulch on top of those beds. And, we're going to keep repeating this because everybody needs to know. Calculated risk, that's perfect. 4 to 6 inches of mulch, and then you're going to want like some type of agribon cover over top of them, maybe some PVC pipe with like just something to keep the frost and the hard freeze off the ground. That's what I would say about that one. And to go back about the question about leasing, I think it just, literally stop on the sides of the road if you see a farmer. No kidding. Or go to a garden area or somewhere that looks ran down and just find out who the owner is and say, hey, I can make that look like 10 times better. I am a flower grower and this is how I can do it. This is the type of flowers I grow. Some people would like that. And then you tell them, hey, I can add value to your land, or just it's not an eyesore anymore. So sell the situation and sell yourself in that. That's how I would look for a piece of land to lease. You're not going to spend much on the acreage. Some people only want tax appraisal. So, on 25 acres, maybe they only want $1,500 or $2,000, $1,500 to $2,000, that is. That's, I'm trying to think here. Thank you. I think next year what I should do is show people that going knocking door to door actually makes a difference, because it does. I'm not scared to. I've never been scared to. Sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking if they're grumpy and old. I'm not saying that anybody's like that here, but there's people like that. And basically what I offer them is when I go up to the door, people come around. These landscapers have a trailer behind every truck has a trailer behind it with a mower nowadays, and everybody's mowing each other's yard. But it's not very often that you get somebody come to knock on your door and say, hey, I'll pay you to cut those flowers over there. It's not very often that happens. And they're like, huh. And then you show them and give them a card and look professional and show them and say, hey, I'll give you 10% or whatever you feel comfortable with. My number's 10%. I'll give you 10% to cut all those hydrangeas over there, and I'll make it look better for next year and sell the situation. You don't even have to have land, honestly. Anita, here's something for you. No land is needed on this situation. Let me tell you something here. This is a great tip for everybody, and I should be... Okay, let's just start it. You're driving down the road. You call the wholesalers. You call the florist. What is in need at this time? You call that Monday and say, there you go. That's perfect. No, you don't say, there you go, that's perfect. But Celtic Roots has a great comment. You should read it there. Yeah. I love asking people if I can cut in their ditch. And they're like, what the heck? But anyways, I'll jump out on the sides of the road. If it's 15 foot off the center line or 20 foot off the center line, I'm cutting. I'll cut and people stop. Hey, what are you doing over there? Like, I'm cutting flowers. And they, oh, okay. Just right on by. You can literally make $500 a day or $1,000 a day doing that. And nobody even knows it. It's that crazy that you have to have the knowledge of it. That's the craziest part. Because if you can cut this stuff off the sides of the road, you're going to be sitting pretty well. As long as you have a cooler of some sort to store it, or an air-conditioned SUV if you can get it to the wholesalers in time. And you literally call them and ask, hey, what's in need? Hydrangeas. So you go around 10%, cut the hydrangeas. You're only given $1 for every 10 that you get. It's cutting Fitch flowers. Yeah. So you could do that. You could go on the sides of the road and just be cutting, like the Queen's Anne lace around here, or you have your Hesperus, which is Sweet Rocket, or you have your phlox on the sides of the road, or you have all your vines like your holly, your Nadenia, the spicewood, the bittersweet that I had over here. You have your evergreens. There's all those types of things. Oh, and another one that's very invasive around here that you could make a couple of $100 to, the trumpet vine and the wisteria is awesome for that stuff. But Iliagnus, yes, the mobile cool bot for the trailer. We have a mobile cool bot and it works wondrously. I don't know if that's a word, wondrously. Wonderfully? I don't know. Doesn't matter, but it works great. We use it with a generator. We hook that up to the air condition and we actually cool a cargo pod with that. And I think it's like 20 foot. So it's about 200 square foot in there and it's cooling it pretty well. I think our whole setup in there is like $1,000 for a generator, the air condition, and the cool bot system. I think it's like $400 for that. Hey, I'm glad you could make it, Jess. We're just talking about random stuff like I never can keep on track. That's what we're doing now. All right. Are you asking? Oh, is Farm Girl asking me how to save seeds? Because personally, I don't save any seeds. I don't think it's worth it because you're going to have the wholesalers are wanting direct colors. And if you get a color that you have a direct color to from your tuber, let me know because I would love to take it. If it's like peaches and cream, something like that. The ones that we sell the most of is burgundies, peaches and cream, or peach in general, whites, and orange right now. Your fall colors. I don't know if white really... Oh. About that seed that's invasive, I think they actually outlawed bittersweet for us a couple years ago, but they let it come back for us to actually pick it when it had berries. So I'm not sure how to answer that question. If it is a question, I don't even know. But that actually happened to us. So, yeah. Let me get some coffee over here. Oh, yeah. That's important to figure out what you really need about, like, when I was talking to Dave Dowling, he said you really need about 6 main colors to every variety that you pick because they're not always going to want the same color every week. My favorite part of the HOA was this right here. talking to everybody, because not only it's really hard to get a hold of somebody by phone, especially when people are very busy and they have their homesteads and they have their flowers and they have all these things and their produce and their animals. It's just like taking a break from everything and be able to talk to everybody, because that's where I make the most connection. I'm not hard to talk to. I'm very easy to come across to talk to, and I could talk forever. But meeting some of the people that may be able to propel me forward with what I'm doing was a great blessing. Like some of the publishers that I met there for publications of magazines and a book. So that was really cool. That was one of my favorite parts. And then the next part of that, is just really seeing the energy of people. I mean, like what was just said, just seeing it. Because it's so exciting to have all the same interest of people actually wanting the same thing. It's so hard. And I'm going to bring this in, and it might offend a couple people in here, but like let's look at it for an example as like church. A lot of people go to church but don't have the same interest. They're literally walk in the door, make attendance, and out. So basically what I mean by that is community. I love the community of going to the Homesteaders of America, and everybody has the same interest. And that's like the church to me. That's what you want at the end of the service. You want to be able to go in there and talk to people and be like, oh, I've known you forever, but I just met you 30 minutes ago. That sort of thing. So that's where I kind of stand on that. It was a pretty cool just way of doing things. And how I was talking about the sponsorships, hopefully in the near future we might have quite a few sponsorships being able for our seed companies, our seeders, and things like that. I kind of sit here in awkward silence because nothing else is going on. Yes, and leave being challenged. Because I know that there's so much more that I can do. And it's the facts of everybody may... Do you go to lecture? Which was your favorite? Let's see. Doug and Stacy was probably my favorite of going, but to generally communicate with somebody was probably Jason from Sutherland, because I was able to connect on a better basis with him, because I have like the same ideas that he does, and I have a couple inventions and products that I would like to put out for people, either in produce or flowers really. But to be challenged when I come home, to know that everybody has the same amount of time, depending on how you use your time, is really a big thing. I'm not going to say who it was from. Yeah, he done both, Sarah. He was actually a vendor and a teacher. They were both on separate days, basically. But there was somebody who had said, and I'm not going to quote who it was from because that might be a little controversial, but they said the way to beat people with just your general way of being is wake up earlier, because everybody has the same amount of time, but the only thing that you can do is sleep less, I guess you could say. Then you may not agree with that, excuse me. But you may not agree with that, but sometimes it's like about getting up earlier. For me, I'm like, I got to get up earlier so I can go cut flowers, so I can get all of them into the cooler. I can bunch them, I can call the wholesalers, and then I can come home and I can get my little girl and my little boy into the nap time. And then go back out and then cut some more flowers, come back in and help my wife, and then do it all over the next day. That's basically how it goes. Yeah, sleeping in is no more, especially when you say it's pretty stressful. Like, oh, I need to get all those. And Jess, I know you missed the beginning of it here, but I was saying how that I had to throw away hundreds of flowers this morning because they were all too far bloomed out. And that's something that you'll deal with, that I didn't specify on at the beginning of the video, is that you may have to throw them out, because as a wholesaler to a farmer's market person, a lot of people want them all the way in full bloom when you go to a farmer's market, because they look at your flower and like, oh, that's not bloomed, and I'm not sure if it's going to. But at the wholesalers, they don't want them fully bloomed out. They want it just Um, sorry, I lost my train of thought. There was a message that came across. I don't know if you can press those flowers because they have such a solid. I'm all over the place. I'm like, I don't know if you can because they have such a solid center, which would cause moisture to be in there, which would cause it to rot. Even though that it is completely opened out, I would say, if anything, I would try them. Yes, Jess, I'll get to that in a minute. I would try them to completely fully opened. Flowers over produce. Per square foot, flowers are more profitable than produce, but I don't think you should forget about your produce because that's the way we thrive. So that's the whole reason for that. Produce is not the business. Flowers is the business for me, and produce is to provide for my family. That's how I've really situated that. So I have my garden that I take care of and tend to, and my wife does too. But then, the flowers is what makes the money because I have a market for it. That's the biggest thing, is finding out who you're going to be selling to before you decide that you're going to buy all these flowers and not knowing a single stitch of where it's going, where they end up to. And what I would like to do one time is actually, this might be in the far future or something, but actually follow a flower in its life and see where it ends up. Because sadly, a dahlia is an event flower, and yes, growing a different variety of something like these ones that I seen the other day was called I'm probably wrong when I say it, a cucumber melon. And they were just really small and they were cucumbers, but they looked exactly like watermelons. I've never seen that before, and I thought that would be pretty cool to grow. But let me go back to what I was saying about dahlias. Dahlias are an event flower. And most of the time, I get called impulsively by florists because somebody has passed away. And sadly, a lot of the pretty, beautiful flowers end up on casket sprays. And when you're growing these flowers all season and then they finally end up to death, it's like there's a flower for everything in all of life and every event. From when you're born to when you have birthdays, when you're sad, when you get married, when you want a woman, guess, when all these things happen. And then when death comes, when all these things, and it's like a flower is the ending part of all of that. If you were to really put it in that perspective, if somebody really cared enough to think about it, if you're that way for a flower and event. But that's, when you need to apologize. Yeah, so I would like to get more into always plant 50% filler to 50% focal. I think that's a good idea. Let me answer that question. Okay, I'm going to answer this in a way for the homeschooling. And then I'm going to answer the flowers, focal flowers to filler. I don't grow any filler. I grew a little bit of dill, but that was to make some trades to get some fermented foods for the winter. But I don't grow any filler. Mostly is all focal flowers because focal flowers pay more money. But it really depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a market bouquet or a CSA or something like that, then you're going to need lots of filler. It's not that I haven't grown it, it's just that we don't grow it. The focal flowers tend to pay more. You can't, for your filler, that's what I do. I barter for a lot of things because it makes it tax-free. If I'm bartering with flowers to get meat or something like that, I do it all the time. Tomatoes and peppers and meat and mushrooms and different topical skincares, I do it all the time. But, so I think I answered that one. I completely forgot where I was at. Oh, yeah, the filler. Depends on where you're at and what you're doing with it. I'm not saying filler is a bad idea for any of you guys. But what I am saying is that the focal flowers work for me, and they're paying between $1 to $5 a stem. So filler flowers, they're non-existent to me unless I'm looking for them on the sides of the road when I am doing my foraging, basically. And I do find a lot to put with these things. As far as the homeschooling goes and things like that, Yeah, and Sarah, we're going to probably be doing that a little bit more this year for the medicinal use, and also to be able to eat for flavoring and stuff like that as well. And it will be extra to have the filler, but that's not entirely what it's for. It'll be more so for the medicinal purpose and for eating. Homeschooling is what we are going to do. I won't be in all of this politics stuff because it doesn't pertain to this video, but we're going to keep our kids in homeschooling because, for one thing, I need workers. That's not right. No, that's not right. But yeah, they're going to stay home with Miranda because Miranda is, she's home now. And so it works best for our family to be flexible, to be able to have each other. I want us to be around as much as possible because even though when I am frustrated with them, I still want them around. It's like time is valuable and we're ticking past. We're going past it like crazy. And that's one thing we can't get back. And that's one thing I want my kids to always be around. And the other thing is that I don't really necessarily want to give it to them, but I want it to be passed down. I want them to be able to learn. I want them to have a trade. Hey, thanks very much. You get out of here and go have fun. That's what I want for them. I want to be able to do that. Wow. 7. We only have 2. We have 2 kids. And I just want to be able to teach them. And I love business. So if I can give them anything, I want to give them business advice and to be able to make those calculated risks because that's important. That's not trained. It's not trained in school is how to make a calculated risk. It's about remembering what's going on. And that's it. It's like they don't teach you money. They don't teach you finance. They don't teach you how to use a debit card. They don't teach you any of this stuff. So I want to teach them business and I want to teach them how I morally stand for things. And if they know that and I can help them be solid in their faith and be solid in the person that they are, then they don't have to be questioned by the world. They can be questioned by their own statements that they make, not by other people. So that's kind of where I stand on that for my little girl and my little boy. Hopefully that's the way that it turns out, but who knows? I'm just giving you what I know and what I feel like that should be. And they're only 1 and 2, so. Yes, there's a lot wrong with a lot of systems, but we won't get into that. We'll just call it even right there. So let's see. Yep, thank you, everybody. I'm glad that everybody was able to come on here to listen. I want to just be briefly on a few more things. Like I said, we have a lot of videos that's going to be coming out, and we're still moving forward. Oh, let's see. About your business. Flexibility and freedom. That's it. Flexibility and freedom. Doesn't matter how much money you make at all. Because the money doesn't matter. When you die, doesn't matter what size house you're going to have. You're probably averaging going to have the same size coffin. Sorry. Tell us about your mistake. Which mistake is it, Anita? Because I can't remember. I've got some mistakes. Probably turning this video on today was a mistake. Oh. I'm still reading here. I'm sorry. My email, okay? My email is wendybrookridge@gmail.com. And okay, let's see. Oh, the mistakes that I made. Well, early morning I make a lot of mistakes just forgetting where I put the buckets at and all those sorts of things. But Anita, let me get to that in just a minute. I'm going to briefly tell you what I have going on because if I don't, I'll forget, and that's a big mistake. in the next couple of days, if I can get quite a few people interested in this, I would love to be able to do a live while I'm cutting early morning that you may be able to go back and watch. But the thing is that I think it will be a Friday morning because that's about all I have left because the frost is coming in Friday night. There won't be a lot to cut, but I can show you what I'm doing. I won't be able to answer much questions, and hopefully I'll have the service that it takes to do it. It might be a little blotty here and there, and I might just delete the video after that. Who knows? I'm not sure. But that's the first part of that. The next part is that I have a few videos coming out and that we're doing. I'm trying to summarize everything right now because we're coming into almost an hour. I'm trying to summarize it here. So we have a lot of stuff going on. We have the videos, and then what I'm doing in the wintertime. Hopefully it's a gamble. I don't know if it's going to work, and this might be a big mistake, Anita. Just listen to this. We're ordering lots of roping, lots of wreaths, and we're going to see if we can sell it to the wholesalers in a manageable time so it doesn't disperse and just go crazy with pine needles everywhere because we held it too long. So that's what we're going to do for the wintertime. Hopefully that will be a full-time job and that will hold us over until we can hit next season. But we have a lot of cool crops coming in. We have the ranunculus coming in. We have rutabaga coming in. What else do we have? Garlic, elephant garlic coming in for, it looks sort of like Gigantium allium coming in. We're going to be growing a lot of ageratum. We're going to be growing a lot of zinnias, but those are, those will be next year. But the cool crops, they're still coming in. We have a lot of stuff that will be quite a bit coming in. No tulips. Oh, wait a minute. I probably have 100 tulips. No tulips though. That's about it. They were actually given to me. Everything else will, the main focal flowers will be dahlias. Not that anything else is wrong with anything. Let's see. Sarah, like I was saying at the beginning of the video, I like to grow stuff that has multi-purposes. Which one, we take a lot of garlic for immune system build. And then, excuse me, we take a lot of garlic for that. And then the Gigantium allium has a hard neck, which that's the type that would grow a stem, is the hard neck, and it grows out to like I said, Gigantium allium, which it's not, but it's garlic, and then it will have a beautiful bloom that the wholesalers pay about $2 a stem for. And then after that, you actually get to keep everything below it and separate it again and do it all over. So you're multiplying like crazy. You're able to eat it. You're able to sell the garlic bulbs, and then you're also able to sell the top of it. You can find me on Instagram at Wendy Brookridge, just like my email is, wendybrookridge@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at Wendy Brookridge, and then YouTube, of course, is The Flower Guy. But other than that, I think I'm going to cut it short right here. And if I can give just a few more seconds to see if anybody has any questions. If not, please direct message me or email me at wendybrookridge@gmail.com. And like I was saying to everybody in the beginning of the video, if you are interested to have some extra help out on the farm, or to see what's going to be blooming, year round, or to get some more training as far as having a first year profitable market garden or wholesale garden, it doesn't really matter what it is. We can fill in the words for that. But if you're interested in letting me help you with that, I would love to help. Just direct message me and we can get that worked out. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And it looks like I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And hopefully we'll have another video out sometime this week. Sorry, not this soon.